Hey y'all, welcome to Other Realm Studio. I'm Paula and I'm running a little late. So hang on just a minute and I will figure out. Wait, stop that. I will get things together in just a second. Okay. Yeah, there's my Etsy shop. It's Etsy/shop/Other Realm Studio. Currently the only thing I have up. Now what? Am I supposed to get that? Okay, Joe got that. Alright, there. Now I can see if anybody posts any comments, and I will put that up on my extra screen. Slide that over there. And this is what I was going to get started working on tonight. This one was... The line work on this is a little bit cheaty, because mostly I traced and modified one of my characters from the comic just to try and get him to stay on model. So I need to do a lot more work to make to make sure that I can draw my own characters. Okay, so I had already set up the multiply layer, and I was going to work on doing this with the cell shading technique. So I have not exactly established where the light source is going to be coming from either. So, this one might end up being a bit of a mess. So I am open for commissions. Let's see. Instead of going with the fine lines on this, I might go with a thicker line and just draw it in where I want it, instead of drawing and then filling it in. Let's see. I'm not quite sure what to do about the lip color here. I'll probably go back in flats and do something very subtle. So, for coloring like this, which is, it's not a lot of gradients, it has like sharper edges, there's not a whole lot of painting back and forth like in, say, this one. This one has a lot of blending going on. Alright, come back. So with this technique, it goes a little faster. At least I think it does. And it's much less painterly, so my rates for this kind of coloring are a little cheaper. But, you know, it depends on what you need for the tone and style of your comic. Now, I would love to have this made as an animated series one day because I also love animation. And so I'm kind of going with, hey Deborah, how you doing? So yeah, I'm kind of going with more of a cartoon animation feeling with the shading here. And trying to keep it very simple and streamlined. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to talk tonight because well, I do feel a little bit better than I've been feeling, but yeah, my sinuses are still kind of killing me, and it's really kind of tiring to try and talk. So let's see, there's a couple ways you can approach this kind of shading. I mean, yeah, I hope so too, Deborah. I sound so creaky. So, yeah, I'm really not sure that I should have started coloring this bit first or so soon. Maybe what I really need to do here is come in here and fix the line art because this one was a little bit thrown together. Ah, what is this? Come on. My lines still aren't as clean as I'd like, and there's some trick to it that I don't know yet. That's all I can think is happening. But I will get this. I'm not quite sure why my line art is so much more rough on screen than it is on paper. I'm very good at line art on paper. I mean, is the tablet not grippy enough? Honestly, what is going on? Okay, I like the shape of that a little more. I do think that the proportion is a bit off, which I did resize this and move it around a little. So that could be part of the problem. So let's see. I do have a little bit of news today. Sort of. Almost. My small posters that I ordered to ship out with the Kickstarter rewards, those should be arriving tomorrow, which I'm pretty happy about that. Because I can't wait for all my stuff to arrive. I can ship it out. And the comics themselves should be going to print early next month, which, you know, for whatever value of early we've got. Let's see. So it shouldn't be too long before I'll have issue 1 shipped out and on its way to everybody who backed it during the Kickstarter. And I'll have some issues left. If you did not get to back the Kickstarter, you can always contact me through any of my social media. Or on my website. I have a contact form. My website is here, www.otherrealmstudio.com. I have a contact form. I will have a store set up eventually, but I just really kind of hate the way my provider does stores. Essentially, they kind of talk like you get to have a store with 10 items in it before you move up to the next tier, and they kind of leave out the part where the store is useless. You can't sell digital items. You can't put in shipping costs without an expensive add-on. It's ridiculous. So I am kind of stuck with them for probably another year or so. But it is what it is. And it's been a good site for displaying my work. So at least it does that well, and it's not difficult to set up. It's just not very functional as a shop. Now, what is functional as a shop is my Etsy store, which I started to mention that. So yeah, I will have the comic available on my Etsy store. I should be able to sell, copies of my comic because I am the creator of the comic. And I'll have the option to have those signed as well. So, that's Soulbound issue number 1. Adrift is the subtitle. Or, well, it's actually more of a chapter title because it's a 10-issue miniseries, and each issue is going to be like a chapter. There is a lot going on. So I really couldn't make it any less than 10 issues. So at the end of this, I'll probably have a graphic novel. Let's move this up and go to a more turquoise color for the shading on the shirt. So my shading on this piece with my sketchier line art is a little bit rougher than the shading that I did in the comic itself, because I was following along with Mia's very smooth and streamlined lines. Whoops. Back out of that a little. But I think if I'm not going to clean up these lines any more than they are, I might as well make the shading match it as far as how sketchy it is. Maybe not quite that sketchy. Okay, let me take that down just a little. Okay. So one of the interesting things about shading is that you can't be afraid to put a lot of shadow on. I mean, you can always go back in and erase it back out if it doesn't work. But it's always worth trying for a more dramatic effect. So here I've put a lot of shade on, especially half her face. And here I can change the shape of her nose a good bit with the amount and the placement of the shadows. It's the shading that gives the depth to the line art. I mean, you can get a lot of effects from just the line art, from the weight of it, and where the line goes thicker or thinner. You can get a lot of variation in the mood of the entire piece, and in the shape of what's contained in the lines. But oh, let's get in here. But you can really push it a lot farther with the shading. I mean, color, you can do some mood stuff. Whoop. Accidentally had that on a previous color. Let's come in here. Like, you don't have to do exactly what the excuse me. Yikes. Okay, so you don't... Yikes. Alright, you don't have to do exactly what realistic color would look like. Hang on. One of the advantages to drawing something as opposed to taking photos is that not everything has to look photorealistic. You can add shading and entire color choices. Just based on what the mood is. And some of this you can even just assign its own meaning within the story. Like in some of these previous pages. Like right here. I mean, I have the sky bright orange and the mountains are kind of this almost bloody color. And I use the color of the sky, turning orange and red, these more bright and warning shades, to contrast with the peaceful drive that she had before, and to show that there's danger coming up. And see, here I have the background just entirely this orangey red color. I mean, it's not realistic at all. It can kind of be argued that it's sunset. Yes. I feel like I'm choking to death on pollen. Okay. It can be kind of argued that it's sunset, but this color is in here essentially to connote danger. And, you can pick up a little bit more of it in the flag and all. And, here I used a lot of blue, a lot of purple. I got a very kind of a thick feeling going on with the water, with the purple and blue in the water. And there's perhaps a little more moonlight than would strictly be realistic. And, of course I went crazy with my sparkly stars and stuff. Because this is magic right here. This is a moment when magic and the aftermath of the magic is happening. So yeah, I took a lot of creative license here with my colors. Like you really should not be able to see this much color at night. But I do think that my shading on the sand on the beach was very much like you would see on a moonlit night. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's not to everybody's taste, but I liked it, and it's my comic, and there wasn't really anybody to tell me that it needed to be done differently. I mean, if I was doing it for a client, of course I'd listen to input on it and try and do what they wanted, but I used my best judgment, and I like it. I think it looks good. It's to my taste. And I can't wait to see how it looks in the comic, in the actual printed version. I'm just really excited to see that. I was trying not to let my colors get muddy, especially since it's supposed to be printed on newsprint, which essentially it's not an archival quality paper, and it's going to soak up more ink and look a little bit more dull, I think, than the glossy paper that's common in modern comics. But I've seen some very nice colors come out in newsprint, not necessarily on comics. All of your ads that you get in the paper, those are newsprint, you know, your old grocery store ads and stuff. And, you know, it's made to make photos look good, and like the modern printing techniques now are really nice. It comes out great. Can't wait to see how my work looks, and if there's anything I can do to improve it and to make it look even better. I'm just really looking forward to seeing how it looks. Let's see, that was a little too green. Let's go over this way. Okay, that's the one I was using. Okay, I think I can do a bit more shading on this. So one of the things that you have to watch out for is that your colors don't get muddy, so you don't want to use too much gray with your shades. So here I'm using light grayish on a multiply layer, and I just really hope that that's the right option to be going with, because I know how this looks on the screen. But the other thing that you have to watch out for is your saturation. So how much ink is this going to take to cover the page? You know, how the printer is going to attempt to get this color. How much ink is that going to take? If it takes too much ink, you know, you could have all kinds of problems with like drying time and bleeding through to the other side. I mean, that's just the stuff that comes to mind right away. There's probably other pitfalls. But I mean, I have people who are experienced working with newsprint doing the pre-press for me, so and you know, formatting and stuff. So I'm hoping that there's not a huge problem, and if there does end up being a problem, I'll know about it before it's too late. We can always hope. Okay, well, it's a little early to go, but I probably should, before I run out of voice. Probably more sleep would be a good thing for me. But thank you for watching, for keeping me company. Go visit my website. Sign up for my newsletter. And if you need a colorist or somebody to do a digital painting for your next book cover or an illustration, keep me in mind. And, well, that'll be all tonight. Good night, and I'll see you in the other realm.